Good morning. Welcome back to today. It's still raining outside. Sitting here in my garage. It's not a big garage. It's like 16 by 20. Just barely enough to squeeze a project in here. In fact, it's small enough that if I put the front bump of my little C10 up against the bench, I can't close the doors. The bifold doors or whatever, they won't close. The bumper sticks out. So it's relatively small, but it gets me out of the rain. That's why most of my projects are done outside, on the ground, in the gravel, in the grass, on the side of the road, wherever. But come out here, I wanted to see what I need to do to get going on this 55 Chevy that I got. That's a 55 Chevy grain truck cab that I picked up at a local U-Pull-It lot. And I sat it down on an S10 frame, early 90s, 91 or so, that I got off of Mike down the road. And the Junkyard 5.3 that I was putting together, that I ended up having to put different heads on because you couldn't put a spark plug in one of the holes. They just drop in, and even with one of them, the adapter kits, the adapter just drops straight into the hole. So I'm assuming somebody used a 1/2 inch impact or 3/4 inch impact and just hammered the plug in until it was tight, and it never got tight. So what we're going to do here is go through and make a mental list of everything we gotta do. So give me a second here. I'm going to see if I can figure out how to flip this camera around so it points to something other than me. 1 second. Okay, this is what we have. As you can see, the S10 frame, we still got the front S10 wheels on here. Brand new tires on the front. They only got just enough miles to push it from in front of the house to behind the house into the garage. And yeah, the one's already gone flat. Aired up, stayed up for 3 months, and then when I was ready to push it around back, it decided to deflate, I guess, whatever. But I did a quick Krylon rebuild on the motor here, minus the gaskets for the head. Make it nice and orange, that way I could see how many oil leaks I have. The intake was the cheapest one I could get off the Amazon of this style. It is the 92 millimeter. It is sitting in place, but it's not currently bolted down, because to make it look a little better, I decided to run all of these wires up underneath here, and I still got to run the vacuum lines because the vacuum lines hook on up underneath. Got another cheap Amazon or eBay fuel pressure regulator. Ran the hosing inside the cab. The cab itself is not currently bolted down, but what we have is it's sitting on a 4x4 block. Nope, just two 2x4s. And I'm going to straighten the cab out, make it look straight. Then I'm going to drill right down through everything, right down into the frame, and bolt this thing to it. I hope that's how it's going to work out. That's what the plan is anyhow, until Murphy's Law kicks in and tells me no. But all of the brakes are hooked up. The master cylinder's not bolted tight to the brake booster. It was, but I stole the bracket off for something, and I have no idea where the bracket went. I didn't use it. I was going to, but didn't. I did take on the eBay, ordered one of them, the cheapest flywheel kit I could find, that'll bolt up to the 4L60E transmission, along with that little spacer for the back of the crankshaft. The transmission itself came out of about a 93 Chevy, so it's not the 4L60E that everybody else is using with these here, but it's what I had. And what we're trying to do here is build off of a very, very small budget. I watch these other car shows, and they go off of a cheap budget, so they only stick $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 into something. I'm thinking along the lines of less than $1,000, maybe a couple of thousand, but it's all inexpensive as we do it. The motor itself was a $300 engine, $350 engine, picked up at a salvage yard, found it on the marketplace, and it was actually a salvage yard that was selling it. Then, cheap can of paint, not that they're cheap anymore. The cheapest gaskets I can find. It isn't going to be something I'm taking this out to drive every day, so if it craps out, it craps out. I think my buddy Mike, when he used to own the frame itself, when I got it off of him, we did some wheeling and dealing, so there was no money out of pocket. I think he put drop spindles in this. I don't know for sure, but I think he did. But otherwise, I picked up this here nice factory style looking visor, kinda, from a yard sale, I believe it was. Cut the ends off and wrapped it around and threw some bolts in it and got it up there. I'll probably have to take it off to put a windshield if we decide to put a windshield in her. Otherwise, I don't plan on painting it. I'm going to just leave it this ugly orange and reddish color. The steering column is in place. It's the one from the S10. Some of y'all might be able to tell what year the S10 was just by the steering column. I got to straighten it out a little bit, bolt it to the floor. But otherwise, it's being held into place by a couple of high quality, generic, cheap Walmart ratchet straps. The floors still got the plain Jane bare metal. I'm probably going to just take and run 1x and self-tap screw to the base, just so as I can have a floor. And the fuel tank we're not going to use. It got holes in it. I'll probably eventually take it out, have room to put some speakers back there that I can't listen to because the engine will be too loud, or tools for all the times I break down. And for seats, I think I'm going to use, I got an old bench out front that has a cast iron bench with wooden slats. I'm going to see if I measured it and it shows it'll fit. I'm going to try getting that thing to sit in here. Otherwise, in the back, I bought some 4-foot chunks of 2x material and just made myself a little wooden bed with some 4x4s that I had laying around the house, stretched across the frame, carriage bolt, did it to the frame. And yeah, the fuel tank I also got off my buddy Mike from down the road, and I got it sitting in here propped up by a socket. I might take these boards out. I got another guy who's willing, got an old pickup bed from something or another, the old from the 50s, that he said I could just have if I wanted it. He wants it out of his yard, so I might go get that, change the bed, maybe. Otherwise, I don't know how well we can get down here. Again, not enough room. We have Krager wheels. Now, the tire itself is good. Got some dry rot to it, but it is good. It's leaking, keeps leaking around the bead. I put air in it, and it held up for about a month, and then she dropped down in air pressure. Every time I go to air it up now, I get all aired up, and you can just hear it coming out the bead. But these wheels are so rusted up on the inside, even with wire wheeling, I keep losing air. So I did spend a couple $100 and ordered a set of wheels off of Speedway, just some black wheels that have like the circles in it or little D's in it, whatever they were. But got them. They should be here today, tomorrow, whenever, and we'll get them put on there. Otherwise, the rear end here is actually out of a Ford Exploder, 2000 something or another. I'm not entirely sure. Again, the frame comes from my buddy Mike. He put it in here. However, if you notice, it isn't that long of a pick-em-up truck. I shortened the frame, got rid of the leaf springs, and again, off of Amazon or eBay, I picked up this 4-link kit. And because of, again, I have a lot of heart issues. And big one that slows me down is I got a pacemaker, so I'm not supposed to be welding. But I did weld these. The welds look like crap, but I'm hoping they hold. I had my wife in here doing some welding, and she welded about as poorly as I did. So that means she's just as good at welding as I am. Otherwise, I had fuel lines ran to the engine until we took the engine out to paint it. I took the oil pan off, put another oil pan gasket in it that came with that cheap gasket kit. I'm glad I did, because I found a lot of sludge in that oil pan. But we got it all cleaned up, all put back together, and it's sitting down in the pickup truck here. The drive shaft was custom made for this pickup with the rear end in its factory spot. But again, when I bought this S10 off my buddy, he had the S10 body on it. He had a 5.3 in it with a 350 turbo in it. And oh boy, lose my train of thought here. But he took the motor out, put in his 80 C10, got one of them Torque-Storm turbochargers on it now. Got the old Granny 4-speed, so it'll 0 to 50 like nobody's business. But then that's it. That's all there is. Geared too low to do much. But I got my 4L60E in here, and I slid. That's part of the reason I put the 4-link in and got rid of the leaf spring so I could slide the rear end up to where the drive shaft works. Otherwise, yeah, that's about what we got. I do got the underneath these here Mickey Mouse jack stands, Evo Energy fuel pump and fuel filter. I plumbed them in a couple of years ago, actually. It's been how long I've been working on this, but again, because of heart issues, I'm only able to get out here every so often. This has been sitting out in the front yard until a month ago when we pushed it out here to inside the garage. Now we're over here on the passenger side, and got the ECM mounted up in here. I had an ECM, but you got to get the VATs deleted off these things. Buddy Mike down the road again, he supplied me with his old EC because he went with some different fuel injection system. Pretty much just a different, mainly he wanted a different computer that'd be easier to program, so to go with his belt-driven Torque-Storm thingamabobber. So I swapped them computers, and we got that baby mounted up in here. We got some custom metal work done up in there, just so as I got a nice easy spot for the wiring to go through. Otherwise, this is about it. I seen at a car show, there's a video of it online where there was a pickup from the Michigan Lumber Company. It said on the doors. I doubt it was from there, but it says it. And he had a nice American flag up on the ceiling there for a headline, and that's probably what we'll do. The gauges, I'm probably just going to leave them gauges in there. I'm not going to hook them up because too much work, I guess. I'm going to get something I can just mount to the dash. This does have an OBD2 port. I'll get one of them little jobbies that you can just plug in and throw on the dash, and it'll tell me the lack of oil pressure I have. It'll let me know that I'm overheating and all that kind of stuff. Otherwise, the wiring harness itself is $120, $130 eBay special. I know it's all junk stuff, but it's what I can afford. And yes, I could save up my money and buy more stuff, but I got 2 kids out of the house and 2 kids in the house, and they all cost money. I got wife. I like to say she costs money, but because of my hurt, I'm only able to work a few hours a day. So she's actually bringing in more money than I am now. So she's actually not costing me much money anymore, but I still got to do things to make her happy. Getting this in the garage instead of out in the front yard was one of the big things that make her happy. So otherwise, this is about it. As you can see, it's not that big of a garage. I got a hole here. I tried using pallets to put up a section to it, but because of health reasons, we never finished, so it just dumps water everywhere. Otherwise, she isn't much. Just a cup of liquid motivation. I have to drink the Mountain Dew because I got a genetic condition to where my body does not produce its own Mountain Dew, so I got to supplement with drinking that. I'm a Chicago Bears fan, as you might be able to see, due to the fact that in 85-6, when they won the Super Bowl, we lived in Chicago because my dad was in the Navy. And one of them came to our school and gave us posters. I've been a Chicago Bears fan since then, before I understood really what the Bears were. And then, the puzzles that we put together, I like, again, early American junk. The newer cars are nice. The old cars that are all fixed up and pretty and stuff, they're nice, but I like the ones that are junk. I like the ones that are junk. All rusted up and rotted out. I had an 84 C10 that I bought $500. Rust on all the typical spots. I cut out the rust around the back wheel wells, Got LMC to send me some panels, welded them all in, looked decent. I welded a little too long and it got a little bit of a whoop to it, but it grinded it down, it looked okay. Cut out the rockers, welded in new ones, took the motor out, swapped intakes, made it TBI fuel injection, and put it all back together using a factory style harness. Picked which wires I wanted to use, got it all going, electric fuel pumps in both sinks. Had the Rally wheels, factory 8-inch wide Rally wheels. I took them in, had them sandblasted, powder coated red. Truck I painted, sanded it all down, cleaned it all up. Got a kit from Sturtevant's, Harley red, come with the primer and everything I need. Painted it all up, chrome bed rails, diamond tread, aluminum fancy shiny toolbox. I got the seats out of a 97 F250 crew cab because it was the 3 individual seats, the center one folding down into a console, and instead of each one being bolted to the floor, they were bolted to a rail so you could lift the whole unit out in one piece. And I put in there, got one of them hard plastic headliners from LMC with the speakers built in a spot for a radio. I mean, I had the truck looking pretty decent. It wasn't showroom, but it looked very nice. Didn't have it that way for about a month, and at work, went and turned off a tractor, took the bucket and drug it down the side of it, and that just made me sick to my stomach. And then I decided to put a bigger cam in it to get a little bit more oomph out of it. The machine shop suggested I put this 350 horse cam for a 327 in there, and he says it won't give me 350 horse because the 350 displacement and everything, it just doesn't give the 350 horse, but that's what he recommends to a lot of the guys, TBI 350s. Well, apparently mine was a 305. I still stuck it in there, and he was kind of curious as to what to do. I put it in there, and it ran great. I put my foot in it, it lit them back tires up, and we took off, and I didn't make it too far, and all of a sudden I had smoke coming out from underneath the hood. Because apparently when I put the motor back in with this new camshaft, I pinched some wires into the between the bell housing and the block, and it smoked everything. And anybody who's worked with vehicles long enough knows that once smoke comes out of an ECM, it's tough to put the smoke back in it and make it work. So I was disgusted. I pulled it around back of work and just let it sit there, and then somebody came through one day for payloader, and the payloader was a old 50s model, 60s model, something or another, all floppy, no brakes, and drug the wheels right up against the side of my pickup and just tore the side of it all up. He didn't do it on purpose, and in fact, I could almost guarantee you that he didn't know he did it because of the fact of how this thing ran. I rubbed up against vehicles that didn't know I did it also. And so I ended up pulling the motor out, sticking it in something else, and carbureting it, and just junked the whole pickup. And after that, I'm not fixing up any more vehicles like that. Not anytime soon. I might eventually in the future, but in the meantime, I like this old stuff. I like the rusty stuff. Rust is one of my favorite colors, so I'm going to keep putting them together. So, this is going to be it for now. Stay tuned for more information. I will keep you guys updated on what we're doing with this pickup and how we're going to get it done. I got to get the torque converter bolted up to the flywheel yet. I got to find the torque converter bolts because they're scattered somewhere between the garage, the side road, and up somewhere in the front yard. And then I could get the starter in, then we could start cranking over on it to see what we got for power and what we don't have for power. Finish getting that motor wired up and get the intake bolted down after we get the vacuum lines. So, until next time, have a blessed day. And this is it from Early American Junk. Talk to you guys next time.